What's up, everybody? Welcome to the set of
The
the
Business
Business
Temple.
Temple. This is your co-host, Super Alex.
And your co-host Super Ravens is ready for the day. Let's get it. Welcome
Let's
everybody.
get it.
Welcome. I know it's
Thank
Sunday.
you.
I know it's a little different. It is not Saturday, but we had to make a little bit of a change, a little bit of arrangement. But before we get into it, before we get started, tell them what we're about, Alex, and what is the Business Temple all about?
Absolutely. So, welcome back to the set, everybody. The Business Temple, where we talk about the union of ancient philosophy and modern business to help entrepreneurs and professionals like you get the most out of your career. We're here for your journey, and we do this every single weekend, particularly on Saturdays. Like what Ray said, we're starting out a little later this weekend, but we are on every single Saturday, 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET, here on YouTube live. Make
Absolutely.
sure to subscribe to all of our social medias, but particularly here on YouTube, where you get to hear about different kinds of philosophies, different kinds of business models. And oh my gosh, it's an exciting time, particularly now, because I just moved to New York. I actually just arrived yesterday afternoon, and pretty soon we're going to be doing live episodes. Super Ray and Super Alex together in one room. You know how crazy that energy is going to get, how exciting that is going to get. So we're looking forward to all of that with you guys. Oh my gosh. Super Ray, I'm so excited for this. And we're, we're evolving. Our show is evolving, man.
It
That's
is
all I got to
evolving.
say.
It is evolving. It's a new chapter for you, Super Alex, and we are all excited for you to get started on this amazing journey living in New York and getting and then getting together more often to do these podcasts. I mean, it's gonna
That's
get
right.
bigger. It's gonna get more. It's gonna get better. I think it's gonna hit a new stage in our business journey as well. So I can't wait. I'm super excited. And what that means for you all is better production, better, higher energy. I think it's gonna be insane. We're gonna do a lot more collaborations, even maybe even do one a business temple outside. Who knows?
Absolutely. There's so much to look forward to, man. I mean, just to give everybody a sneak peek, we're definitely going to hop on that Spotify platform and begin, competing in the rankings of Spotify. Hopefully, we get a coaching platform here going on as well. As you all know, Ray and I were public speakers and coaches as well. So
Yeah,
we just love to help people in that regard. And we're just gonna make it official, man. We paid our dues. You know what I
hell yeah.
mean? For how long have we been doing? Almost 2 years. We have like I think we're almost about to reach our 100 episode mark. So we got to double check on that for all of you, but we're definitely going to do a lot of special things for for the two of us, Super Ray, and for our beloved audience.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh, all right. Well, let's kick up the energy. Let's turn up the music. Let's get it
Let's
started
go.
up here in the business temple. And we're going to just go ahead and jump in and tell you what are we doing today? What are we talking about? What is today's topic? What is the philosophy? And then how are we going to
That's
help
right.
become a better entrepreneur using this philosophy? So let's kick it up into high gear, put on the music, and let's go.
Woo! All right, all right, all right. So, as you know, we always make sure that we relate philosophy to entrepreneurship. We talk about different philosophies every single week from different cultures. Now, this particular philosophy we're going to be talking about is from South America. We have not actually discussed much of South American culture as of yet. This will be a first, and there's a lot of topics to discuss. So enjoy the music, enjoy the vibe, get your favorite drink, listen to your co-host Super Ray and Super Alex, and let's go. What are we gonna talk about today, Super Ray? Give them the bullet.
All right, there we go. It's right there on your screen. We're going to be talking about the Andean Cosmovision in entrepreneurship, a path to sustainable success. Now, the Andean Cosmovision in entrepreneurship is all about connecting with nature, connecting
Right.
yourself and as part of this bigger plan. And today, that's all we're going to be discussing is how you can connect yourself to this bigger plan, how you can understand the world a little bit better, and your business a little bit better through this philosophy. Like Alex said, this is a South American philosophy. We haven't touched South America in a while, and I think this philosophy really does bring together the understanding of the big picture as well as how you stand in that big picture. What's your standing there? Because we're all here on this canvas we call entrepreneurship, and we want to see
I love that.
played a part in that canvas. So let's get it started. Alex, kick it off.
All right. So, I actually was really surprised about how much Andean Cosmovision, as I was doing my research, how much entrepreneurs subscribe to this philosophy. And I'm going to say it's a philosophy because Andean Cosmovision, the first fact I want to throw out through all of you there is that it's not a belief, it's not a science, or it's not a religion. As a matter of fact, if you Google Andean Cosmovision, you'll see it's a philosophy of how people can experience reality in its fullness through natural means. And we're going to touch base on a lot of that stuff, but mainly Andean Cosmovision, as what Ray said, it is all about living in harmony with nature, and it's about the interconnectedness of all things. How you, as a human being, connect with your reality. How you, as a human being, connect with not only nature, connect with animals, connect with plants, connect with other people, connect with your environment, particularly connect with your culture, how you preserve your culture as well. And like I said, what really surprised me is how much entrepreneurs still practice this philosophy that's been around for over 1,000 years. Yeah. So it's just crazy, like
I mean, the one thing that this philosophy, of course, called it has the name the Andean cosmetology or cosmology. Oh shit!
There you go.
Cosmovision. I'm getting it all confused because it arrives from the Andes Mountains, the mountain range that connects Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, I believe, and Bolivia, and Ecuador. Sorry, and those mountain ranges actually, I believe, is what defines that interconnectedness. Like what that nature kind of brings people together, because in a way, this is something that all these countries have in common now, and that's how I see it in that regard. That the Andes and the Andean Cosmovision is all about interconnectedness, because in nature we find ways of connecting with one another, and the Andes Mountain being that range that connects a bunch of these countries. Because when you think of a mountain range, or you think of when I think of a mountain range, I think of a natural barriers, or even a waterway. I think of natural barriers, things that are meant to keep things out.
That makes sense.
And when you think of the Andes Mountains, it's something different. It connects through all these different countries, and that kind of brings them together as well. So it's something that it's a shared natural, mountain range. And that's what I was started like thinking about when I was like reading about how this philosophy came about. Is it because this mountain range is shared amongst all of the people that are within that east, I think is more eastern South American country range?
Gotcha. But Ray, that's great education right there, man. I love how you mentioned that the mountain range doesn't act as a barrier for the people involved in this philosophy, when a lot of people, for example, I would think that it would be a natural barrier, but instead of using the word barrier, it connects them instead. It's like a railroad or a highway. You know what I mean? And that's just such a great way to flip the script on this philosophy. And I want to start with what interests me the most here. And you mentioned earlier about entrepreneurship being a big canvas. I like to think of nature that way as well, and in our world today, with all the technology and social media, do you feel that we're a lot more disconnected with nature?
Oh, that's an easy yes. Being stuck on our phones and in the screen, not to our fans, of course, stay on. Don't worry about that. But Absolutely. I feel like we do take a side when it comes to what we want in our lives. So if you think about convenience in our life versus nature, most people would choose convenience over nature anytime, meaning that we would be willing to pave down these forests or roads in order to
Yeah.
build a railroad, or think about when we were going to create the pipeline, the gas pipeline that was going to go through a Indian, a Native American uh, grave site. I think it was more of like a spiritual site that was going through there, and we just kind of ignore kind of the natural aspects and the things that we don't really respect for convenience. And when it comes to the choices between convenience or nature,
Most would choose
obvious
convenience.
it's obvious. And then technology and the internet being one of the most convenient things that we can own and possess in our hands, we don't realize the impact we're having on the environment and the world. To mine the lithium ion batteries that go into your phones, and the natural resources it comes from like in Africa and places where people aren't paid for that sort of labor, and we're constantly uprooting all of the natural resources in our world, and it's actually having a huge impact. And I think it's interconnected. And when we think about that interconnectedness, how is your behavior impacting the world in the way that we do everything, and shopping? And I think not in our generation, but maybe in the generations to come, we're going to start feeling the impact a lot more. I know there's a lot of a lot of activists out there now. It's like weather impact our climate, and it is time to make a difference. But like, how do you as an individual make that difference? When you think about like these bigger corporations, they do have a larger carbon footprint than what you have, but as an individual, we have a responsibility as well.
Absolutely.
Deep into it. I'm just
No, please do. That's what the business temple is for, man. And to me though, as opposed to your answer, Super Ray, my answer, it feels a little more complex. Like, it's easy to say that, yeah, of course, technology disconnects us from nature, but then there's also a dilemma in that. Technology is necessary for human beings to advance. It's hard to choose one over the other, which is the point that you were mentioning earlier, convenience or nature. But then I think about what you said about the mountain ranges, man, how it's not like a barrier, but how it connects everything. So to me, it's more on, and you actually already talked a little bit about it. Like, how can you behave? How can you use technology in such a way where you're in tune with nature and you're not hurting the environment so much?
Yeah.
I think that's the dilemma there.
And in a way, the best thing you can do is to give back, like the way we're doing. We're using technology to provide. I have a quote in my here. It says, "The world is built by producers, not consumers." It's like, if you have the ability to produce something, if you have the ability, like which all entrepreneurs do, then do so. Bring something into this world. And instead of just being the guy or the person that buys an iPhone to scroll on TikTok every day, make the TikTok videos, because you're actually doing something at that point. You're actually creating, and you're
Producing
to a community, not just being a lurker, which some people tend to
doom scrolling and everything.
Yeah, to produce something. Don't just consume and consume and consume, because that's the detriment to any sort of ecosystem. If someone just continues to uproot and eat and consume, and they're not actually doing anything or producing, then those are the type of people that I believe that aren't using the internet or technology correctly. They need to get up there, start doing some dances if they can, be funny. I don't know, contribute to this ecosystem as much as you can.
There we go. That's the answer I was aiming for, man. I love it, bro. You take the words right out of my mouth, man. It's so great, because that's just the natural. I mean, not natural, but that's just the dilemma. It's always technology versus nature, but how can we use it to make it work hand in hand? How can we use that barrier, the mountain range, to connect these two very different things? You know what I mean? And I love the way you put that. Hey, you know what? You become a producer, not a consumer. And in nature, if you're still living in the hunter gatherer phase from before, it's you plant your crops. You know what I mean? You give back,
Yeah.
and so you reap what you sow. You don't just
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
And I think that vastly applies now.
Imagine if you just cut down trees without planting any, there will be no more trees.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's the dilemma that I want to really raise awareness about is, of course, care about nature, but also think about how you're using the technology that's in the tip of your fingertips. You know, it's just really that device that you're holding right now. It's one of the most powerful devices in the world. Are you using it to produce something that's meaningful to you and other people, something that helps you, something that helps other people, something that makes you feel good? Make other people feel good? Think about these things, you know, or are you just out there consuming, doom scrolling for a couple of hours a day and just, you know, taking stuff? So really think about that. I want to prompt that question to everybody. You know, really think about that today and reflect on it and see how you can bridge the gap between technology and nature, how you can contribute to, like what Ray said, the ecosystem of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like the one of the major reasons why entrepreneurs feel so lonely is because they feel like they are alone. They live in an isolated island, but they're not alone. You can contribute. You can share your experiences online. You can even. I know a person that's on Reddit right now. There's an entrepreneurial thread that's
Reddit? Okay.
$100,000 in 100 days and is documenting their journey and going through that process, and then just every single day just giving an update of how they're doing, or every single week or so giving an update of how they're doing in that process. And there's a bunch of people in the comment section just kind of either on either side where they're like, oh, this is impossible, we can't really do it, this is not entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is also this person contributing and then sharing the journey to one day perhaps inspire somebody else to try something different, maybe a 99-day challenge or even an 8, whatever it may be. And it is just, I think that's the world we live in. We live in a world where if you're not sharing information and you're just withholding it, you're not actually contributing anything to society. And if you want to be a contributor to society as an entrepreneur, which we are, we should be able to produce either quality content or content for other people to be inspired with. I'm of that notion, and this is why we have the Business Temple, is because we have so much knowledge, we have so much things to talk about, things that we've actually continually learned on this show, and it's helped us become better entrepreneurs. And I'm sure it's going to help. It's helping other entrepreneurs develop their way of thinking and their way of incorporating philosophy in their business.
I absolutely agree, man. Like I've learned so much on this show, you know, things that I wouldn't think about even learning, especially when it comes to philosophy. And you know, I think philosophy is such a powerful thing, especially learning about this Andean Cosmovision here, because another thing that really interests me about Andean Cosmovision is their philosophy of preserving culture. So I think that's a powerful thing. And one of the things that comes to mind is the Japanese culture and how they preserve that. And they wouldn't even know anything about Andean Cosmovision. You know what I mean? It's just their own thing, preserving culture, because they were isolated for so long. You know, and because they preserve their culture, when the entrepreneurs in Japan some of them still operate in such a way where their beliefs and disciplines exactly relate to a philosophy called Bushido, to which we also have an episode on. Make sure to check that out on our YouTube channel. And that was a great topic to talk about. But yeah, man, it's just preserving the culture, you know, your culture. And so my prompt to all entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs out there is that how can you add your own flavor based on your culture to your business? How can you preserve your culture and make sure you apply that to your business so that people can get a taste of what it is to be Filipino, what it is to be Dominican, what it is to be, you know, whatever culture you're from. This way, I feel like that gives you a little bit more originality. That gives your as what we were talking about, your production value when you produce whatever it is you're producing, not just originality, but it gives it character. It gives it depth. It gives it you, and that's such a powerful thing to pour out there into the world. Your essence, your culture.
Yeah, I mean, I like philosophy because, and then understanding it just gives me a better understanding of the world. I think for me, it was not more so of like preserving a culture, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I just don't agree with. But then I tend to, once I understand it, it gives me a better concept of like, okay, I understand now why things are done. Because I've always thought like what tradition, culture is like the dead giving responsibility to the living. And I
Mm-hmm.
really don't subscribe to the notion of everything needs to be the same, like with everything you do. I'm sure there's room for ambiguity, and I'm sure there's room for you to add your own spice. Preserving
Right.
culture and tradition doesn't mean just taking everything from the past and applying it here in the future, because it's our we're different. The timeline that we live in right now is completely different than the timeline they lived back then. And then Andean culture, with when you're talking about the Inca era, they used to sacrifice people to the sun gods, and they
Right.
kill people in order, and then do like dances in order to bring rain and things like that. But I think we've moved on past that understanding, and we have satellites that predict weather conditions now. We don't have to make sacrifices in order to bring good weather and crops. So when you think about tradition and you think about like where things come from, having that understanding though, however, is essential to knowing like what you're trying to bring to the table, what kind of culture you're trying to bring to your business. And I think is super important in order for you to understand your past, in order for you to like understand your future or know your future, is you got to understand your past. And I
And that's
100%
the thing.
subscribe to that.
That's the thing about Andean Cosmovision. There's no really one word to express it. It's just the cosmos is just out there. You're talking about past, present, and future, but that's all Andean Cosmovision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy how reality is that way. And one last topic I want to touch base on when it comes to Andean Cosmovision. I mentioned this earlier in the show. Part of the definition is how people who subscribe to this philosophy it's just about how they experience reality. And we're talking about nature here and all of that. And so there will come some times, and I know some entrepreneurs who actually do this, entrepreneurs who actually take these natural substances to experience a different reality. Essentially, what I'm talking about here is ayahuasca, magic psychedelic mushrooms, and all that stuff. And yeah, all that stuff is natural. Okay, it may not be legal. Definitely, it's not legal. In some states, it is now, though. But it's just people would take that. From my understanding, people would take that to achieve some sort of purpose of enlightenment, purpose of Zen, purpose of decluttering. I personally had tried magic mushrooms once before, and it was a crazy experience. It goes to say though that after I did do that, and I'm not promoting this whatsoever. I'm just sharing my experience. But after I did do that, I did feel a lot of declutter in my mind, because what psychedelics actually does is I will say this in the form of a metaphor. It just pours your guts out on the table, all your problems, all your worst and best memories, all of your experience, and it just puts you in a blender. And when you wake up, it's like a hard reset. At least that's how I felt. I'm not sure how anyone else felt, but that's part of the philosophy, experiencing reality in a natural way using these psychedelic substances, But where's your head at with that? Where's your head at with that, Super
I
Ray?
would
With
say
entrepreneurs
like
using that?
if you're taking it to fulfill a purpose, is actually good for you. Honestly, it's not like I'm promoting it, but I'm kind of promoting it. I'm not saying to not try to experience it, because I feel like the people that go on these ayahuasca retreats are
There's a
going there with
purpose.
sort of a either mission to have a better understanding of themselves and the world, and to also perhaps get a new perspective of life. Because I feel like, I don't know, I think from what I've heard, I've never done it before, and I've never, but what I've heard it being described is kind of like a reawakening of sorts. It's more like you're on the edge of life and death, and then you just kind of come back to a new reality where you just see the world a little bit differently. I don't know if that's the impact of the drugs, or if it's actually something that you truly experience. Either way, maybe at some point we'll do it and then document the experience.
That would be a funny business temple show.
Like,
Oh my gosh. So,
it's the mushroom temple.
oh my god. That's going to be a special episode. We might do that for our 100th episode. Who knows? But to give a little bit more background, and I want to give you a little bit of education here as well, Ray. So you know, like, kind of get an idea of what it feels like. If you take ayahuasca, I believe, not psychedelic mushroom. If you take ayahuasca, it activates a chemical in your brain called DMT, and that chemical, you only experience that during a near-death experience.
Hmm.
So imagine that, activating a chemical, which is when you're supposed to experience before you're about to die. Now, you know how they say your life flashes before your eyes before you're about to die? In the form of ayahuasca, I can say that many people have experienced that. And this is based on research. I have not actually tried it. So many people have actually experienced that. You know, life goes by in slow motion before their eyes. But in reality, that's just mere seconds. So what happens is you could take it in the form of a tea. A lot of people usually take it in the form of a tea. And as soon as you consume that tea, I would say in about 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes, after that time frame, you throw up. Once you throw up, that's when the psychedelics kick in. Your eyes dilate, and then boom, you're just in a different reality.
Oof.
And
Sure
like what Ray was mentioning earlier, if you don't have a purpose, it's going to be so difficult because your one North Star, your one purpose is supposed to be guiding you in that whatever reality you're on. Without one, then you just be lost in the sauce, man.
Oh no.
Imagine being lost in another reality. That's fucking crazy. You know, I would compare it to having like an Ubi, like an out of body experience.
Yeah, no, but out of body experience.
You know, and you'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs subscribe to this, man. Subscribe to this psychedelic. Subscribe to this. There's a word I'm looking for. Esoteric.
Mm.
You know, esoteric activities, I would say. but yeah, entrepreneurs out there do that, and you know, it's just crazy, and we're gonna have to get back to all of y'all to what that feels like, because I don't know, the mushroom temple might be a thing. But yeah, I think we are on our 30-minute mark, and we just want to say how awesome it's been. I particularly want to say how grateful I am for you, Super Ray, for our audience, and for this show, how much this show has shaped me. Me moving here to New York after 3 years in the making, and now being close to you, Ray. There's so much to look forward to in the show, and I just want to say thank you. Thank all of you. I love it.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Super. Alex, you have been incredible. And then, I mean, the journey from the Philippines to California, now to New York, has been quite a long one, but here you are, and I can't be happier, brother. Just feel right at home, and I hope you feel right at home with being here in New York.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to expand. I can't wait to grow the business temple, and I can't wait to grow with all of our fans here. So let's play them out. You guys already know. Follow us, subscribe at the Business Temple. Make sure you hit the like, the bell, and catch all our shows every single Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we don't have to say 12 12 p.m.
12 p.m.
Eastern,
Eastern.
9 a.m. Pacific time. I guess we don't have to say Pacific time anymore. Nah, we're so
No more, man. We're all good. Oh my gosh. Have a great weekend, everyone. Make sure you enjoy today. Live life to the fullest. Stay grateful. We love you. And whew, peace, everybody.
Peace.